Hey, hi Akansha. Hi Shubham.
Vishal, can you please switch on the camera?
Okay, let me know like if my video is visible.
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay.
Okay, so Shubham, you can proceed then to Vishal.
Yeah, thank you, Kaisha. Hi, Vishal. Shall we start?
Hi Shubham. Yeah, we can.
Okay, so let me give you my intro first, then we'll go ahead with your introduction. So, my name is Shubham, and I have been working as a senior DevOps engineer here at Antino Labs, which is a service based company. And we mostly work with multi cloud technologies, and we do have multiple clients across the globe, and we are not dependent on a single tool. We mostly work with the client requirement. Maybe that can be on EKS, AKS, or GKE. So yeah, that's it. So can you just give me your introduction a bit briefly, like how many projects on which you are working currently, what is the infrastructure, and what are the tools and technologies you have worked with?
Okay, yeah. Thanks Shubham. Thanks for the opportunity.
Mhm.
So coming to
Mhm.
my tech stack, like I work on AWS cloud along with the GCP, depending upon the cloud requirements. Like we are working, I am working in a healthcare application right now. So we deploy it as healthcare is very secure. So it depends on the client requirement whether it is deployed on our infra or on their infra. And the tech stack can include, like I said, both the AWS with the EKS or the GK. And coming to the tools, I work like still it depends on the client how they want to deploy their application. If this is on other hand, we deploy it like we using the Terraform, then using Argo CD we are deploying our application. But if I am saying from the beginning, so we are using the Jenkins for the CI/CD pipeline, and along with that we are using for our own application testing, we are deploying it on Docker Compose. And for the traffic, the real time traffic, the production, we are deploying it on the Kubernetes using the Argo CD, where we like one repository we are storing all the YAML files. And the updation of the application is done through the Helm charts. And yeah, like along with the security practices, we implement few open source tools along with them. And also like the binary authorization sort of things we implement. So like these are the things on which I work along.
Okay, thank you so much, Vishal, for the quick intro. So, you initially start with the security part. Okay, let's start with the security first.
Okay.
So, you said in healthcare, security is the first priority, which is true. Um, so, let's say you must do have a database in your application currently. Okay. So, I want to understand: is it a SaaS based or is it standalone?
Is it a sorry?
Is it SaaS? Is it a SaaS or standalone you're using?
Okay, so like we have deployed our application in multiple client infrastructure. So depending upon the size application, upon the load or traffic of the application, few are deployed as a clusters, and few of them are working as a standalone databases.
Okay. So the production, let's say you have the production in on the EKS itself or maybe on GKE. So in that case, which DB you are using currently?
We are using two DBs. Two means we are using two databases from the GCP, which is one for the MySQL 8 and the Postgres 18. And
Okay.
yeah, like we are using Postgres 14 and MySQL 8 we are using.
Okay. So it's on GCP you are saying, correct?
Correct.
And the cluster should be on GK maybe if I'm not wrong.
Correct.
Okay. So your API should be communicating with the database so that every entry should be appended in the DB, right?
Correct.
So I want to understand the DB credentials which are highly sensitive, where you are adding them or how you are making sure it is secure and using in the API.
Okay, so like coming to the DB credentials, like we are
Mhm.
using them like for, there are multiple ways we are doing right now.
Mhm.
They are like in one of the projects of the client side, we are defining in the Terraform vault and the one infra
Okay.
where we are using the AWS, we are using the certificate ACM to manage the credentials. And like in one of the
No,
scenario
no,
in,
no. Okay, so ACM, how ACM is securing your credentials?
no, not for
Certificate
the
manager?
cer- secrets manager.
No, you said ACM. Okay,
Sorry,
go ahead.
yeah. So
Yeah, go ahead.
and
Mhm.
like one side we are using cube ADM as well, so we are defining the secrets like in the form of like the base intake base 64 encoded, so like that we are defining here.
So, do you think base 64 is a right way to secure your data?
We like very well know like it is not the very well scenario to deploy it, but that cube ADM
Hmm.
is deployed in internally, that is not hosted externally, or no means it is not connected with the internet, means I can
Okay,
not say like, but like no external traffic is like it is on the zero trust, so we are deploying in that way.
okay, correct. Got you. Okay. And what other perspective you are taking care of in terms of security part in the Kubernetes environment and the infra perspective as well? Like we have talked about database credentials. Okay. Apart from that, we do have other attacks can be happen as well. Maybe SQL injection or DDoS. So for
Yeah.
them, what exactly you're doing?
So like specifically for the database or whatever we are implementing for the
No,
security.
for the complete infrastructure.
Okay, so like recently, like we have deployed one of the project recently. So that client requirement was like in Kubernetes, we in GK, like we were storing our artifacts in the Docker Hub, but like
Mhm.
and like for the security, I have implemented the Docker Scout in the Docker Hub so that it gives us the vulnerability score of the Docker images. So that is the security perspective, and that we have implemented in the Jenkins pipeline as well. Like if the Docker
Mhm.
Scout test pass, then only the pipeline completes, else it will be showing us the error. Then
Okay.
by the client requirement, they were specifically they do not want to do anything of the manually, like we do not want to use Redis manually or the any image, we have to use the GCP managed Redis. So like that was a requirement, so for all the services. So we have shifted from Docker Hub to artifact registry, and by switching to artifact registry, it was strict requirement to use this signed images only, as the GK cluster will be having the binary authorization enabled. So no other images which is not signed can be deployed to the cluster. That we have implemented as a security. Also we have integrated Trivi, which is the Docker image scanning tool to again adds the layer of the security for the Docker image. And yeah, like for the code also we have implemented the Sonar Cube, the code quality check custom gateways, so we can define there to pass the code test. And okay, so along with that, we also like in the load balancers, we are using the service mesh of Istio. So we have implemented
Mhm.
that the architecture so that like only the specific traffic is allowed, or the traffic has to become from only a single IP, so that only a single IP is whitelisted. Like these are the practices we are using for the security.
Okay. Do you also work with Cloud Armor anyhow?
I know about the Cloud Armor, but like I haven't worked much on the Cloud Armor side in GCP.
Okay. No worries. No worries. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about a scenario. Let's say I do have a GitHub repository where my Python or Node or Java, anything that you might be aware about, is the code base is present in the GitHub repository. Okay. I want you to deploy it in the Kubernetes environment. Okay. Making sure it is secure, making sure it is having an external access. Okay, so this API should be deployed in the Kubernetes environment and should be exposed externally so that I am able to get 200 response back when I hit it on Postman or any other platform.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
and it should be cost optimized. Yeah, what do you want to say?
Okay, like the API part I missed.
Mhm.
Can you please pardon?
So the thing is, we have a GitHub repository where our code base is present for the API, which can be on Python, Java, or Node that you are aware about. Maybe you are deploying Java or Node or Python in your Kubernetes environment, right? So anything you are comfortable with, go ahead with that only.
Okay,
Okay.
like so
So
I have worked with the Bitbucket, and like the similar principle is for the GitHub. Like if
yeah, that
I'm
would be
having,
fine. Okay, let's say now we have code repository as a Bitbucket. Okay, and which backend tech stack you work with for the deployment?
it is Python.
Okay, it's Python. Okay, let's say we have a Bitbucket repository where we have Python code bases present. Okay, so now this repository should be deployed on GKE. Okay, having some perspective should be taken care of. First, it should be secure. Second, it should be exposed externally so that I am able to see 200 status code and test on my Postman. Third, it should be cost optimized. Okay. Um, yeah, that should be enough.
Okay, so like coming to this, like initially I'll be creating one the CI/CD pipeline where firstly I will be cloning like my pipeline will be having the stages.
So, okay, Vishal, can we do this manually for the first time?
Sorry.
Can we do this manually initially? Initially, can we do it manually? Can't you? Can you please don't go with the CI/CD first? Can we do it manually? Can you try explaining the whole scenario manually? I want to deploy it manually right now.
Okay, so like deploying it manually.
Correct.
Okay, deploying it manually on Kubernetes. Like we deploy the services in Kubernetes in form of the images, but like in the source code we will be having the code, right?
Yes, correct.
So like firstly we will be having the Docker files.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so first we will be cloning the repository in any of the EC2 or the virtual machine which we are using, and then we will be having the Docker files. We will be having the YAMLs, and we will be deploying it using the kubectl command to deploy our application to check all the services or all the pods are up and running. So
So, buddy, please take care about the security perspective of Kubernetes environment.
okay.
Okay, and take care of how many nodes you are taking, what exactly is it, where it is deployed, which infra you are using, which Kubernetes version you are using, how you are making it is secure, it is cost optimized, and all.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
security is first concept will be coming to the Docker image, and
Mm-hmm.
that comes with the vulnerability free code. And once we are having the secured Docker image, first we will be analyzing our application. Like if it is running on the dev environment, we will be checking the consumptions of whatever how much CPU and RAM it is consuming in the real time or with the traffic. So you will be picking the like a round of number to make the application available with the minimal cost, or using the for the optimization. And like then we will be signing the images like as I mentioned for the we will be creating the one GKE cluster with this like we are having the 1.2.1.29 default version for the GKE. Will be enabling the binary authorization to make sure like if any other images is deployed, that should not run. If it is deployed, it will be deployed, but it won't be running that container. So using that binary authorization and the signed image, only required images can be deployed. And will be if it is like for the production level, I will be enabling the autoscaler, the cluster autoscaler, but still the required size will be kept as low as possible to make sure the application runs depending upon the size of the node. And then once the application is deployed, we can implement the monitoring and things as well. But for exposing our application securely, it like depends on the application whether it is a high serving load application, or just we have to present the application layer. So that will be discussed, and as per the requirement we can create the ALB or the NLB, where we will be like if it is the load balancer, we will be putting the certificate and the domain name to that particular IP where the application is for the load balancer. And if we want our fast retrieval of the data, like if it is like very high load, we will be using the NLB, and then we can define the domain path and the host in the load balancers configuration. And that if we there is different size of the machines for the nodes, if it is not Kubernetes, then we can use a weighted round robin to manage the request. Then like generally we use the round robin technique for the load balancer to bifurcate the traffic onto the servers or onto the nodes.
Okay. So you are saying you want to expose the application using ALB or NLB. So here what I understand, you are going to change the type of the service from cluster IP to load balancer. Am I correct?
Okay, so we can do that in other way, like as we can implement the Istio as well. We can use the ingress to manage the traffic. So
Okay.
sorry. So these are the things where we can define the application more secured for the traffic management, where in the networking policy we can define if there is any of the particular IP from which the data is will be coming. So in the network policy, Kubernetes network policy, we will be defining that YAML to allow the data from a particular IP only. So these can be done through the Istio as well.
So you are saying you are going to expose your application using Istio, correct?
Like
Istio do have an ingress gateway, right?
yeah,
So using that, you are going to expose your application, correct?
correct.
Okay. So let's say I have configured Istio-CTL and I have deployed Istio on my Kubernetes environment, and it do have an ingress gateway. Which load balancer it will create on my cloud provider?
Okay, so it will be creating the NLB.
Okay, and if I don't want an NLB, I want an ALB because we are not going forward with the latency part. So NLB is basically for the latency parts, and here I want to specify the path-based routing, which is not possible in NLB, which is only possible in ALB. So I want to convert or use ALB. In that case, what will you do?
Okay, so like I haven't implemented that, but I have gone through that documentations where I found out that we can use the annotations, like in the YAMLs, we can in the annotations we can define it for the load balancer, for the application load balancer. Then it will be creating the application load balancer. We have to define it in the annotations part of that YAML.
Okay, no worries, I got you. Okay, apart from that, let's say, so we have discussed about the database. So let's say this API that you just deployed on maybe on the backend namespace, okay? So I need a DB for this application, correct? Without the DB, it won't work at all. So rather than having RDS or MySQL, I need to deploy my DB in the Kubernetes environment itself and connect my API with this DB. So I need to make sure both the pods that are running in the different namespaces. Okay, I don't want DB in the same namespace. They should be in the database namespace most probably. And so how can we deploy a database with persistent volumes that and making sure my API is communicating to a DB?
Okay, so coming to the scenario where DB is in the other namespace. Oh, we can like I'm not getting it right now, but there is like a policy as well for this, where the service can connect to the other service in the names in the other namespace. But I'm not getting it right now. But I can do this from the documentation, the workaround. But right now I'm not getting it because there is the one in the service mesh when I was learning. There was the thing to how to communicate to the other service. Which is in the other namespace, but I'm not getting it right now.
Okay, and how you can deploy a DB in the namespace? What is the procedure?
Okay, so like deploying DB in the container, we will be using the strategy for the stateful set, and we as per the requirement of the application, we will be using that particular version of the MySQL or the Postgres, whichever is required. and then we will be setting up the initial entries for the databases, and then we have to make sure to allow the connections, like we have the host for the DB to connect. We will be like, for the first time we have to allow the queries or the particular host which will be connecting to that DB, the DB names, password. Then we can configure that after that is for the configuration.
And how about the volume?
Like creating the persistent volumes.
Correct.
Okay, so like we can like create using YAMLs as well, or we can deploy it using the Argo CD, where we will be first creating the persistent volume, and then for the persistent volume claim, which is for the particular namespace which we'll be using, and along with the storage class, which is we are using. Like it could be in the it depends on the requirement.
So which persistent volume you are creating here? You are a bit aware about static provisioning and dynamic provisioning?
Okay, like I've heard, but like I haven't worked on the production level of this.
Okay. No worries. So let's move on to another part. You also work with HPAs and all?
HPA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say you have to configure an HPA on the basis of IOPS, not on the basis of CPU and the memory. On the basis of IOPS. So my application is IOPS optimized, okay, and it is consuming more IOPS rather than CPU and memory. So what is the workaround that need to be done here to make sure my application doesn't never face any outages in the coming future?
Okay, like for the IOPS, like I can like still like when we do it for the matrices, we install the metric server in the Kubernetes, then we assign the HPA for the particular pod using that labels and selectors, and for the specific thresholds. Similarly, like we will be having for the iOS, but will there be any specific anything else like the metric server or not? I can do this, but for the IOPS I haven't worked, but surely I can work on it. But like we are using HPA, where we are using the metric server and then implementing the HPA.
Okay, do you heard about like HPA can be work on the basis of IOPS anyhow?
HPA, I haven't, but when I was learning this, like there is one more for the MLOps or IOPS, which is like Kubernetes event driven, like which is KEDA, where we can define it, but
Yes,
I haven't,
KEDA.
yeah,
Yes.
haven't implemented that. But I can do this, but haven't implemented that.
Yeah, so the KEDA is the is where this object comes in. Then you talk about IOPS. So you can't configure it using HPA. So we have a different object of Kubernetes here, which is Kubernetes event-driven autoscaler, which is KEDA. Okay. Do you heard about PDB in Kubernetes?
P?
PDB.
PDB. Sorry, PDB I haven't heard.
Okay, no worries. If I give you a full form, maybe you are aware about it. The pod destruction budget. You heard about it.
Post destruction was sorry.
Pod destruction budget. Okay, no worries.
Pod destruction was okay.
Okay, let's move on to the another part. So you're working with Jenkins, right?
Correct.
Okay. Let's talk about a scenario here. Okay. So let's talk about the Jenkins first. So how your Jenkins has been configured, and what exactly your Jenkins is doing, and is it a master slave architecture, or is it a master, or and where this Jenkins has been deployed?
Okay, so coming to the deployment of the Jenkins, like we have deployed Jenkins in our own on-prem servers to make it more secure and available. And then we are not using the masters or the worker slaves architecture here as of now, because the load is not that much. But I have worked with the multi slave architecture as well, where we okay, so like coming to my work, where I have created the pipelines where we are having one demo application which is like the databases on the GCP, and that demo application is deployed in the high-end virtual machine in the managed instance group on Docker Compose. So we deployed them, and we have the pipeline for starting the virtual machines databases. Then uh, if the work is done, we have put the triggers the cron jobs in the Jenkins scheduler to automatically shut down or set to start the application. For this perspective, also we are using the Jenkins in the dev server to package our app, means the CI/CD process for the application, where we are cloning the code, building the artifacts, testing them, pushing it to the repository, then deploying that. And okay, so like these are the things. Also, like we
Okay.
are right.
Okay, so you said your Jenkins is deployed on your on-prem. So is it deployed directly on the VM or is it running on the Docker container?
It is deployed directly on the VM, not on the container.
Reason?
Okay, so like coming to the reason.
We are doing the same, but why?
Okay, so like I don't know the exact reasons, but like there are like a few limitations of I believe deploying the Jenkins as a container due to volumes, but we can create the volumes persistent using the storage, but like
Correct. Okay, no worries. And how, let's say now when you go to your VM and do net start thing, you are able to see there is something running on 8080, but is Jenkins. So how you have exposed this 8080 to the external world?
okay, exposing that to the external world
Correct.
haven't worked with that. It was initially deployed, but I haven't done this. Like I can do this on the on-prem, but haven't did this on the on-prem, but I can do this, but haven't done it as of now for the on-prem, exposing the services.
So you work with the reverse proxy?
Yes, like we are using the Nginx here as a reverse proxy for our application.
So okay, so this Nginx thing should be on the reverse proxy to expose, or maybe, and you have to use the public IP of the VM in the cloud DNS or 53, whichever you are using.
Okay.
This is how it will be exposed. Okay. Okay. So let's say this is exposed and this is running on xyz.com maybe. Okay. With a certificate added. Okay. So now let's say you have go to your Jenkins UI. Okay. And we are seeing something here with the name dev, stage, and prod. We have 3 pipelines we are able to see. Okay. This is the scenario that I'm giving you. Okay. So as per the names, they are doing the same. So dev pipeline is communicating with the dev branch of the GitHub repository and deploying everything to the dev VM or dev namespace of GKE or anything. Okay. The stage does the same thing. Stage is communicating with the stage branch of the repository and deploying everything to the stage namespace. The same goes for the prod, is communicating with the master and deploying everything to the prod. So there is a problem here. So let's say I'm the developer. And in the coming future, I created a new branch with the name feature or hotfix or any other branch, maybe dev2. Okay. So in the coming future, if I created this, I have to be dependent on you, because the only thing is here that if I push something to dev or stage or prod, they can be deployed by me directly using build now, or can be deployed automatically if you have added the trigger. But I have created a new branch. In that case, I have to pull you in and ask you to create a new pipeline, which will be communicating and responding to this particular new branch and deploying to a particular VM. Okay, this is a problem. So I want a single pipeline, which will be communicating with all the branches. So I want to tie these 3 pipelines as well in the single pipeline, because if we have a single pipeline, we are not supposed to have 3 pipelines for dev, stage, and prod. Now the single pipeline will be communicating with all the branches required and should also be communicating with the new branch that should be created in the future. So how can this be possible and can be configured? Do you understand the scenario?
I got the scenario. Okay, so like like if the changes on the new branch or any new branch is added, and like the developer is not having the access to the Jenkins, he has the dependency on that.
No. You can say that he have the access of the Jenkins. He maybe you haven't added the trigger thing. He is going to the Jenkins UI and clicking build now after pushing to the dev. He is going to the dev pipeline and clicking on build now. That is not an issue. That would be completely fine because I don't want sometimes maybe by mistake I have pushed something and I don't want to deploy it, which can be deployed automatically. I want to fix this thing. So I don't want to be auto triggers. I have created a build now thing for the developers and given them their own user. Okay, that is fine. But I have to integrate all these pipelines to one and making sure all the pipelines, all the branches should be used later on in the future.
Okay, so like right now I'm getting the like the thing we can add that particular branch name, but to automate that process, like if the new branch is created, the Jenkins should automatically get that updates. Like I need to search on that, but like for me, like I can add the new branch here there in the pipeline, the Groovy we are having, and then the same steps for getting it done for the executing it.
So you are saying you are going to create a new pipeline for the new branch.
Not a new pipeline. We'll be like configuring that same existing pipeline only.
Okay, the same pipeline is let's say, let's talk about the dev one. So this dev pipeline is communicating the dev branch. And I have created a new branch with the name feature. How you add the feature branch in this dev pipeline?
Okay. How do I add a feature branches in the dev pipeline? I can like there can also like I can clone the code for from that particular branch in that dev environment. I can define it in the pipeline, but is it like this like for the production standards or not? Like I don't believe, but like still like I can do a workaround, but right now like I'm not getting it.
Okay. You work with the parameterized jobs in Jenkins?
Parameterized jobs like the actions related jobs.
No, there is something, the parameter section in the Jenkins
Okay, like
configuration.
okay, so like I'm having one application which is having one VM and the two databases. So if I want to start my application, I have defined the parameters for start, and then start will be happening on the then in the start parameter. I have given the cron expression when to start that, and similarly stop expression stop, and then the cron expression when to start that application. Then we can have the when we click on the build start now Jenkins pipeline, we get the parameters whether to start and stop. So depending upon that, the pipeline triggers.
So which parameter is it? Is it a string parameter? Is it a choice parameter? Is it a Boolean parameter? Which parameter is it?
We are using the choice parameter right now, which is the start and the
We are
stop.
using a choice. Correct. You're using a choice parameter. What if I can choose a choice parameter and I give the values, okay, as many as I can give. And apart from that, because choice can be minimal, because let's say you give the choice value as dev and dev2, and the coming future person can create dev3. In that case, it would be a problem, right? It should not be hard coded. So let's say you have given a string parameter and you have given default value maybe as dev. And then if I change this value from dev to dev2, it might work. You get the point what I'm saying?
I got
So we have something with the name string parameter, and we have a choice parameter. Okay. The choice parameter is when you click on the choice parameter, you have multiple choices that you have defined in the configuration part, where you have hard coded the value there. Okay. Right. You have maybe let's say in this scenario, you have hard coded and you have chosen the choice parameter. So the choice parameter can be in terms of cluster. So which cluster you want to deploy this code to. So you have given three choices: dev, stage, and prod. But in case of branch, you're not supposed to give the choice parameter. You have to give the string parameter. So the string can be changed and can be given the same name that developer has created. So this way it will be having the workaround. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So you work with monitoring part as well.
Yeah, I work with monitoring part.
Okay. Okay. So let's say my pod is down, and I want an alert on my communication channel, maybe on Slack, Teams, or Flock, or anything that you're using. So how you configured this?
Okay, so coming to the alerts, like we are using the central monitoring here, where we have defined if the any of the pod goes down, or any of the virtual machine is like giving this spike. We have defined the thresholds for that, and like we are implementing it for the, like for the client side we have defined the emails, and for our own internal we have defined the Slack alerts, where we defined the the required recipients for the email side, and for the alerts uh, we are given the using the API token we communicate, like we have, like in the Jenkins only we have given the API token for to get the credentials for all the alerts, whatever it is. It is giving triggers, whether the pipeline, when the pipeline got triggered, when it is successfully executed, that we have defined in the credentials part for the Jenkins. And coming to the monitoring side, where we have defined the recipients domains to get the alerts, or as a mail to like let the teams know for this there is a fault or whatever the error is.
So which tool is doing all of these things?
Okay, so like which tool is doing all of the things? Okay, so like we are like tool we have implemented the Prometheus in the Grafana, then the Fluent bit for the node exporter, and not remembering the tool, like for regarding like for particularly sending the alerts.
Okay. So you must have Prometheus rules, if you are aware about, where you are specifying the rules like for which it should give you alert.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea right now?
Okay, so like in the Prometheus, like the PL query we have defined that, but like not getting it right now for that particular.
Okay, no worries, no worries, no worries. Do you know what is cube state matrix in alerts or in Prometheus?
Cube state matrix.
Correct.
Okay, it is like so the matrix for the services which is in the like connected to the Kubernetes config it is created, but like I haven't getting it right now.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Okay, can we talk about Terraform? Like, what exactly you're doing using Terraform, and have you worked with workspaces, and what all modules you are using, and what exactly you're doing using Terraform?
Okay, so like coming to the Terraform, we have like firstly we have the service accounts strictly for the Terraform, which we use for creating our TF for implementing our TF files. Then we define the in like we have created the modules to create particularly for the VPC along with the subnet, and then the virtual machine, and then along with the load balancers. Like if someone wants to create create one virtual machine and deploy one application, and along with that application load balancer, so we define that modules. So our application is deployed with two databases, MySQL and Postgres, then one managed Redis cluster, then the GKE, and one NFS. So that is defined all in the Terraform. We are managing that and defined as a module. Right now we are planning to implement the Terragrant to manage all the environments like the dev, QA, and the prod. But right now we are using the Terraform only, and we are storing the remote file in the cloud storage bucket as our backend to to maintain the state file, and it logs like so that only no conflict should happen.
So have you also configured any locking mechanism for this as well?
No such locking mechanism, but like we have the guidelines, like if the one is working on the Terraform file, like though it is logged, it is it will be giving us the error the someone as is using this Terraform. So, but I haven't implemented that locking mechanism because right now we are working in a small team. So no,
Okay.
yeah.
No worries. Okay, Vishal. That's it from my end. Do you have anything to ask?
Okay, yeah, firstly, thanks for this interview. I'll be asking for the generic feedback, how, what are the areas on where I was lacking, and the other thing is currently, what are the recent challenges faced by your team in your application, what scenarios, what are the critical issues you face recently.
Okay, so the feedback part will be taken care by HR only. I will give her the feedback. She will give you the feedback. And if you talk about the challenges, so DevOps is all about challenges. Okay, we mostly face challenges every single day. So the current challenge is mostly about the Elasticsearch. Okay, so I'm trying to migrate Elasticsearch, which is running on a different VM, and we are doing blue-green deployments where we are facing. So the VM is of N2D standard 16 type, which is having 16 virtual CPU and 64 GB of memory, which is underutilized, as well as the